The Toronto Blue Jays snapped their 5-game losing streak against the Pittsburgh Pirates, beating them by a score of 4-0. And this game saw tons of positive things. Chris Bassitt dominated, George Springer got hot, and much more. So we're going to break that down coming up next. What's up, Jays fans? Nick Gosse, your host of Jays Digest. And before we do get into the video, I want to remind you guys to hit the subscribe button. We are on the road to 7,000. We're less than 150 away, so if you could do that, it would mean a lot. And thank you guys for your continued support. It's been unbelievable. Continue to be interactive in the comments. We love that. But let's just get into the game breakdown. And the Blue Jays snapped their losing streak. Of course, as we all know, unfortunately, they got swept by the Boston Red Sox. We had a couple videos. We only covered 2 out of the 4 because, a lot of them were fairly boring games. But we just took a couple days off to lock it in for this series. And this was a game the Blue Jays desperately needed to win. We needed to get back in the win column, especially with the way the other AL East teams are performing, and we currently stand 4th in the division. But what a game for the Toronto Blue Jays. Let's just focus on the positives, and there's a lot of things we'll cover, but what a game from everybody on the Blue Jays staff. It was a very clean game, and coming into the game, the Pittsburgh Pirates lineup isn't as good as it always was. They have a couple injuries, they're a little bit depleted, and they started off the season as hot as any team in the MLB. But they've cooled down a little bit as of late, and now the Toronto Blue Jays took advantage of that and crushed them by a score of 4-0. They shut them out. But let's get into the box scores a little bit here. George Springer went 1 for 5, Bo Bichette 1 for 4. Of course, Vladdy, Chapman, Kirk. Lucas came in obviously as a pinch runner. Whit Merrifield, Dalton Varsho, and we'll touch on some more specifics a little bit later. But what a complete game by the hitting staff. And looking at this lineup, this is a very, very strong lineup for the Blue Jays. Of course, you have Kirk in there and Danny Jansen. That's probably the optimal way that we want to go going forward, or at least when you want to, win a game, because obviously Brandon Belt's been ice cold this season, Kevin Biggio, etc. But what a game for the Toronto Blue Jays. And the story of the day was kind of Chris Bassitt, but we'll touch on him in a little bit. I just want to... Clean game from the Toronto Blue Jays, and something that has not been happening lately. Against the Boston Red Sox, they were getting dominated on all ends of the field. Their defense was poor, their pitching was poor, and their hitting was it wasn't that poor actually, but it wasn't great. Missed some clutch genes, but what a win for the Blue Jays. And let's get into it. The bats come alive, like I just showed you guys the box score, but let's go into some specifics here now. And I don't have the video clip for you, but George Springer finally hit a home run. As you can see here, he did go 1 for 5, and that was his only hit. But it was a moonshot lace, a 2-run home run there. And quickly, we'll touch on George Springer a little bit. He, obviously, a lot of Blue Jays fans have been disappointed with the way he started this season and has continued to play, but his underlying numbers are unbelievable. He barrels the ball as much as, anyone. He's been barreling it. He's getting so unlucky. And even to start the game, I believe he hit a missile at somebody. Obviously, it got caught, but, he's hitting the ball so well. Of course, he's a little bit antsy up there. He's swinging at some stuff that he shouldn't be swinging at. But seeing George Springer, lock it in and finally get rewarded for his great swings, albeit he only went 1 for 5, he gave us a pretty clutch hit, and it was one that he desperately needed for his confidence. And I don't think that George Springer's confidence is ever going to get wavered. He's been in the league too long, but just seeing some results, because he could easily be hitting 250, 260, maybe even 270 this season. But of course, luck isn't always going to work out for you, but I have no worries about him. And one other person I want to touch on, of course, I showed you the box score earlier, is Whit Merrifield. And man, what a game out of Whit Merrifield. He had 3 stolen bases. He was hitting the ball. Obviously, he went 1 for 3, or 2 for 4, sorry. He's hitting the ball so well, and he is such an underrated asset of this team. And I want to ask you guys in the comments what your thoughts have been on him so far. But he stole 3 bases. He got in scoring position. He got cashed in, and what a game from Whit Merrifield. He is such a difference maker. He's so fast. He can play tons of positions, and he's hitting the ball as well as he has in at least the past few years. So a quick shout out to Whit Merrifield, and another honorable mention to, of course, just the rest of the hitting staff, and Matt Chapman, who, of course, tried to stretch his double into a triple, into the deepest part of the ballpark. Would have been a home run in a lot of fields, and unfortunately, he got gunned out at third. But just an overall great game from the bats, a great game from Whit Merrifield. And he was really the star of the show, hitting-wise, aside from George Springer. But the star of the show today was Chris Bassitt, who absolutely dominated, carved up the Pirates lineup. Again, like I said, it was a bit of a depleted lineup, but what a game for Chris Bassitt. And he's doing phenomenal so far. He in 7 innings, 4 hits, 4 walks, 5 strikeouts. And like we said, he struggled with his command a bit today. He gave up 4 walks, but he didn't let up a run. And a little bit of that, we can give credit to the Pittsburgh Pirates, who kept running into outs. They kept trying to extend. Carlos Santana got gunned out at third with 2 outs. And Carlos Santana is not the fastest guy in the world. He's not fast at all. So that was very, very, dumb and bad of them. But Chris Bassitt, his command wasn't really there when he needed to be. Of course, it was there for him, but this is what you brought him in to do. You brought him in to eat innings. He's always going to eat innings for you guys. Always going to eat innings for the Blue Jays. And he's someone that's just so important to this team because realistically, we brought him in to be a number 3 starter. And that is exactly what he's doing. And Kevin Gausman and Alek Manoah both struggled in the Boston Red Sox series. Very uncharacteristic of Kevin Gausman, especially yesterday. But, we paid Chris Bassitt to come in and get these wins against these weaker lineups. I know they've been doing very, very well so far, but in general, it was a pretty weak Pittsburgh Pirate lineup. But what a game out of him. Unbelievable. And he's just been so impressive for the majority of the season. Of course, him, like every starter on the Blue Jays, have had their off games, but for him to come in today and get a desperately needed win, and John Schneider said before the game that we just need to come in, stop this win streak now, or this losing streak now, and let's begin a win streak, and that is exactly what they did. They took care of business. It was all game face. Obviously, George Springer got the home run, so that was good vibes in general, but I'm just so impressed with Chris Bassitt. I've been impressed with him so far throughout the season. Of course, he had his horrible first start, but ever since then, the guy's been absolutely locked in and ready to go. And 5 strikeouts and 7 innings pitched, you take that every day out of your number 3 starter, and you really take that every day out of any one of your starters. So it was great to see Chris Bassitt go out there and do that. And let's just touch on Erik Swanson. Of course, he gave up a run, I believe it was yesterday or in the Boston Red Sox series, but he's been such an underrated asset to this team. He comes in, he shuts the Red Sox down very, very fairly easily. Of course, he got a strikeout, and the more we look back at that trade, the more I'm all for it. Obviously, we had this discussion on some streams and some videos in the past, but I don't know where we would be without without Chris Bassitt, but without Erik Swanson and Jordan Romano, who we'll touch on in a minute. But those are the 2 guys who I have utmost faith in coming out of the bullpen, and without a guy like Erik Swanson back there, it would be very, very tough to segment, especially with the struggles that our bullpen has seen, especially the past week in our 5-game losing streak. Jimmy Garcia struggled. Everyone struggled aside from Tim Mays, Erik Swanson, and Jordan Romano. So seeing Erik Swanson dominate like that, float the ball in the zone, get strikeouts, and continue to dominate was very, very good to see. And finally, Jordan Romano, what doesn't he do? Very, very clean 9th inning for him in a non-save opportunity. As like I said, they won 4-0, but I completely agree with John Schneider here. You really don't have anyone else you trust in the bullpen to shut down those, even a 4-0 lead. So it won't count as a save, but the Blue Jays desperately needed this win. So John Schneider, of course, just figured to go to our best reliever, at least one of our best relievers, and dominate. He's probably our best reliever, but he dominated that inning, and I'm just happy the Blue Jays got a win. Of course, we haven't had videos we missed, I believe, 2 of the last 4 days because the games have been a bit weird. We took a little bit of a break before this series so we can be fully locked in for this series, but what a game for the Blue Jays, and what a day if you're a Blue Jays fan to just take a breath, step back, relax, and get a much, much needed win in the start of a series, because like I said earlier in the video, the AL East is not getting any easier. Our schedule is not getting any easier, so we need to accumulate as many wins as we can, or else it's going to be a very, very difficult time for us to catch the Tampa Bay Rays, who beat the Yankees, I believe, tonight. But they just stay absolutely on fire. And overall, a wonderful day for the Blue Jays, and one that we're going to cherish because there haven't been many of them the past week. If you're a Blue Jays fan, it's been very, very difficult to watch the team at times, but it's a part of the process. It's a part of the long season. And quickly before I wrap up, we'll get into a look ahead. Tomorrow, Toronto Blue Jays, of course, played the Pirates, and Jose Barrios is taking the hill, and he had a bit of a rocky start last game. He battled, but he had a rocky start. So, again, against the Pittsburgh Pirates team who's been winning a lot of games, but their lineup struggled a bit as of late. Take care of business is all we have to do. Just take care of business, get the win, and one game at a time. We're still on track for, I think, 97 wins before this game tonight, so we're in a very, very good spot, but you just got to keep winning, taking care of business, and the schedule, like I said, is not going to get any easier, so it's important that we take care of business now against teams that are struggling and scuffling a little bit, and hopefully tomorrow Jose Barrios can do exactly that and get the starting rotation back on track and follow the role that Chris Bassitt set today with his 7-inning game. So that'll wrap up the video. Again, your support's been unbelievable. I know the Blue Jays have been struggling. It's sometimes hard to watch them. It's sometimes hard to get up and be happy after a loss of the caliber that they've been losing, but just bear with it. It's going to be a long season. At the end of the day, when hopefully we get to October, it will all have been worth it. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you later. Cheers.